What's up guys, welcome back. Today we have a video response to bodybuilding mindset. So basically he made a video response to my why I prefer calisthenics over the gym video, and he made some solid points, so I'm going to respond to him. So he basically agreed with most of what I said, but he had a couple of small muscle groups or small issues with the whole video. So overall, we have a very similar philosophy to training. I think we have very similar backgrounds in terms of starting out as bodyweight bodybuilders, basically, and then moving on to hybrid training, which I believe is the best way to train your whole body. So I believe we share a lot of opinions. So I said so a lot. I'm going to respond to him, and I'm going to point out my opinion and how it has changed compared to my previous video of why I prefer calisthenics over the gym, because right now I'm going to the gym. So what he points out is true. If you watch this video, go watch this video. It's true for what I call regular calisthenics, which is everything that doesn't really encompass rings, right? So for that specific case, yeah, I totally agree. Now, for ring calisthenics, no, I disagree a lot, and I would say that there is just one muscle group we agree on that you can truly develop well with rings, and I'm going to add two other muscle groups to the list that I believe that you should work them in a definitely not with rings, and you should find another way, or just with body weight. You should find you should buy a piece of equipment that I'm going to mention later for you to train those specific muscle groups. So yeah, that's the general gist of the video, so we can start. The first one is going to be upper traps. So he said that upper traps, you need weights basically to develop them properly, and I definitely agree, because the upper traps for me are like the lower body in terms of you need heavy weights to work them. The reason to why you need heavy weights to work the upper traps is because the upper traps are made for weighted stretching. If you want to grow your traps, you have to look at the function of the upper traps, which is carrying heavy stuff, right? Like having things pulling you down, weighted stretch, right, on the traps. And you can't really replicate that with bodyweight calisthenics. You don't have enough weight in your body to do so. You can compensate with inverted shrugs, doing a lot of them, like super high reps, with low rest intervals for super high volume every single day, nucleus overload style, and spamming inverted rows. You could do that, but that would be the equivalent of me telling you to do 1,000 squats per day for you to equalize 5 sets of heavy squats. Doesn't really make sense, right? So yeah, for upper traps, you need your deadlifts, your trapart stuff, your shrugs, your farmer's carries, and stuff like that. So we can agree on that. We're off to a good start. Then we move on to biceps, which he basically says that dumbbells and barbells are what he likes the most and what he feels the most working. He has tried, I think he said, Pelican push-ups and ring curls, and he didn't like them. He didn't feel his biceps working, and he felt that it wasn't enough. This is pretty funny because for me it's the opposite case. I have found that for biceps, rings, cables, stuff like all the implements, it's very individual, and it is very related to what you did before. I would say that for most people that have never done any type of curl, yeah, dumbbells, cables, stuff like that is going to be the best way to start. But for me, that I started with ring curls and especially Pelican curls, I have to say that I disagree. For me, it's the opposite. Rings and dumbbells, specifically lengthened bias movements like incline curls and preacher curls, are God tier, because I really feel my biceps. But with barbells, cables, and dumbbells, when it's not lengthened focused, I just don't feel them. It's just, I don't. It's like I'm grinding through the movement, and I feel more my shoulders, way the front delt, rather than the fucking bicep. And you might be saying, hey, you're doing it cheated. I have tried strict, I have tried switching up the tempo. There we go. I have tried multiple strategies, and the best bicep sensation that I feel, and the best way for me to take my biceps to failure, is with rings and incline curls or preacher curls, dumbbell preacher curls. So I would say it's pretty individual. And for some people, it's going to be better with rings. For some people, it's going to be better with free weights or cables, or even with bands, because the biceps don't really grow that much from weighted stretching. I would say that bands still are going to allow you to grow your biceps optimally. And I know that's very controversial to say, but I really believe so. But I'm going to give you a couple of tips so you may feel your biceps working better with rings. And that is, for Pelican curls, try to play around with the positioning of your shoulders. That's the first thing. Maybe pin them down to your sides. Maybe have like a full external rotation. Maybe like just let them be and try to keep your elbows tucked in. Try to keep a depressed scapula and pump your chest up like this. Change the way you position your feet. If you're leaning forward, if you're on your tippy toes, if you're with your feet planted on the ground, if you have your knees straight, if you have your knees bent. Play around with that, the strap width, right? How far apart the straps are. Try to keep them closer if you want to, or more shoulder width. That's going to allow you to find a variation of the Pelican curl, or a position of the Pelican curl that's going to allow you to properly hit your biceps and to really feel them, because it's going to fit your anthropometry. Then for ring curls, this is a common issue that I see, is that people, when they do the ring curls, when they go up, they don't keep their hands like this, right? They let them when they're in the stretch position, right? They're like this. They let the ring pull the wrist away, and then when they go up, they flex the wrist and they rotate the fingers around the rings, right? And that takes away from the biceps involvement. So my advice would be, either do a false grip and do your curls like this, or grab the rings and flex your wrist. Start with your wrist flexed and keep your wrist flexed throughout the whole movement. That is going to allow you to feel your biceps way more. Trust me. Source, trust me, bro. So that's the tips I can give you. And also, if you're strong enough to do ring curls in a horizontal position, like a inverted row position, try to go, instead of doing the bilateral version, do one arm at a time, and that's going to allow you to go back to the more vertical position, because I have found that the tension is not the same when you're like completely horizontal. It's not the same tension as when you're a little bit leaning back. You feel that nice stretch. This is something I have found with rings, especially for biceps, is that rings offer a homogeneous strength curve while still emphasizing the concentric and eccentric in some kind of way. It's very hard to explain, but when you work out with rings and you isolate your biceps with rings, you're going to feel it. The same goes with ring face pulls. So yeah, this is something that I wanted to point out. So yeah, play around with the positioning, false grip, stuff like that, and you're going to feel your biceps with rings. But if you feel them with weights and you want to keep doing them with weights, go ahead. But for me, you can develop your biceps optimally with rings. You just have to find the right position and the right way of doing it. Then we move on to forearms. So he points out that you basically don't have wrist flexions and wrist extensions. And it's true. But let me ask you something. Does it matter? Because the forearm has a lot of functions, right? You have isometric holds. You have letting your fingers roll and then picking them back up, right? You have, of course, wrist flexion, wrist extension. You have the ability to elbow flexion in this position with the neutral position, and you also work the brachialis. You have the ability to do like this, right? So you have a lot of functions for the forearm. So let me ask you, does it matter if you can't do just two of them? Because you can find a lot of exercises that work other functions of the forearm that is going to lead to the same hypertrophic result. And I'm going to give you a couple of exercises. So the first one is going to be ring reverse curls. So you basically grab the rings with a pronated thumbless grip. You wrap your fingers around you put your thumb over the rings, right? You're like this, and then when you go up, you do a wrist extension, right? And you go up and you do your curl like this. Then you go down, then you go up, and like this. Just a ring curl, but with a pronated thumbless grip, and you basically are going to be forced to do a little bit of wrist extension. You're going to work your wrist flexors and your wrist extensors. Sorry. Try to go for 20 to 25 reps. Maybe you can do 10 to 15, 10 to 20, 15 to 25. do mechanical drop sets, and you're definitely going to feel your forearms with that exercise. I can guarantee you that. Then we have ring hammer curls. So basically, you grab the ring, right, by its sides, you assume a thumbless grip, and you basically curl like this. If you feel uncomfortable on the wrist, you can go a little bit down, and so they are like not 45 degrees, but you get like a little bit of a diagonal line right here, like this, instead of like this, like this. So you're like this, and you curl like that. You're going to really feel it in this area right here. I don't know if you can see it, but in the brachioradialis area, and you're going to feel it in the brachialis area right here. So it's going to definitely destroy your forearms. Then we have dead hangs, which are an amazing exercise to finish off your lower days. And basically, if you think that just regular dead hangs are very easy because you can do 2 to 3 minutes, do one arm at a time. You do 1 to 2 minutes on this side, then you move on to this side like this, then you move on back again, and you go back and forth until you can't hold yourself anymore. It's going to decompress your spine, decompress your shoulders, all of your joints basically, and it's going to grow your forearms like crazy. Trust me on that. Even NH recommends them. So definitely, that sound in the background is they're playing a soccer match. So sorry for the noise in the background. So yeah, definitely incorporate dead hangs into your routine. Also, we are not talking about the elephant in the room, and that is towels and fat grips. Basically, they're going to change your training because they're going to basically transform any curl or pulling exercise into a forearm exercise. So you basically put a towel through a ring, a single ring, and you grab the sides. You're going to have a great forearm exercise because it's going to, first of all, force you to really squeeze the towel to avoid it slipping, and also you're going to have a neutral grip to do your hammer curls. So there you have an amazing movements for you to work your forearms. Then you have towels on pull-ups or rows, which is going to, or dead hangs, or even like races, which is going to give you indirect stimulus to your forearms, because you're going to mainly be working your back or your abs, right? And because you're going to be hanging from the towels, it's going to basically put a lot of focus on the forearms. So it's a good way of you to make the exercise more holistic, if you will, for pulling. So for forearms, you can definitely develop them with just body weight. You just have to be a little bit more creative. Then we have side delts. So I'm going to make 2 points. The first one is that there are side delt exercises you can do. For example, ring lateral raises. This is something you can do. If you're doing a rear delt fly with rings and you lean back far enough, you're going to stop. I can't do it because I'm leaning against the wall, but basically, when you're doing ring flies, rear delt flies, you're like this, right? Then as you lean back, you're going to start pulling like this. If you keep leaning back, you're going to end up basically doing this. You're going to start doing ring lateral raises, which is very counterintuitive because you would say those are ring rear delt flies. That's a mouthful. But judging by the position, it's basically a lateral raise. So this is something that you can try. If you don't trust that it's going to work your rear delts, you can do Y flies. You basically grab the rings and go like this. It's basically a bodyweight loo raise, which I highly recommend you to try. So yeah, you have options to work your side delts. But, this is the second point, I don't think you should focus on isolating your side delt. I know, controversial, right? As some other YouTuber might say. So, side delts, right? For me, side delts, the best way to grow them is through diffuse tonnage. If you look at Alpha Destiny, the guy never did side delt isolation. He basically got strong at rowing, at vertical pressing, and he did a shit ton of face pulls. That brought him a lot of shoulder health, a lot of rear delt development, and a lot of side delt development as well, and front delt development. He basically got the full package. He got a holistic development in the shoulders. And for me at least, it doesn't make sense to focus on the lateral head instead of the rear delt, because it's, first of all, for aesthetics, it looks terrible to have a very developed, as I myself have, I have a very developed lateral head, front front deltoid, but my rear delts are lagging behind, and I had to tell you, it doesn't look aesthetic at all. You want to have that nice round appearance. So that's the first factor. The second factor is, again, shoulder health. A lot of rear delt movements are going to give you that scapular stability for your presses, and it's also going to compensate to prevent that imbalance of kyphotic posture. So definitely you have to focus more on rear delt isolation. Also, again, it's aesthetic. If you look at my back, for example, if I didn't have that little rear delt development I had, and I have mostly side delt development, you wouldn't notice, right? When you're in front, the thing you see is the front delt and a little bit of side delt. And when you're from the back, the most people see is the rear delt and a little bit of side delt. So just pointing that out, get strong at vertical pressing and rowing, and isolate with face pulls, with reverse flies, reverse back deck and stuff like that, and you're going to get all the shoulder development you need in a holistic manner. If you want to really emphasize your side delt for some reason, then you can try Y flies and ring side braces, basically. Now, two muscle groups that I wanted to talk about that I truly believe that ring calisthenics neglects is triceps and neck. The first one, triceps, is that the movements that you have are not not enough. In terms of, you have basically two main movements, which are the bodyweight giant press or Gainsborough press, and of course the bodyweight extension, which, yeah, you can change the rep range to like prevent overuse, but I truly believe that it's better, at least for sensitive areas like the elbows, which are a bitch, or the shoulders or the wrist, to change directly the movement and not the rep range. So you have very little variation. It involves the core a lot. Like, for example, think of Sphinx push-ups or bodyweight extensions. They're very, like, they involve the core a lot, and you have to learn to brace properly and to be like very rigid and to keep a whole body position for you to be able to just isolate your triceps, which for me it's very uncomfortable as a bodybuilding movement. And also they are very taxing on the tendons. I myself have very long arms, and the longer the limb, the higher the risk of injury. So for me, at least, the first thing that got injured in my lifting journey is my triceps tendon, which it was a bitch. I had to stop training for a month, and then I had to get bands for me to slowly build up back again, to have the tendon strength enough to do tricep movements. So yeah, definitely for triceps, I don't think it's enough. You're going to have to find a solution that I alluded to a second ago. So then we have neck, which you could do neck bridges, but I won't recommend them because I don't think they're very safe. I have done them in the past. Actually, if you scroll down to my oldest video, that's my first video, is me doing neck bridges, but I won't recommend them anymore because I believe that there are way better and safer alternatives. And what I'm going to tell you for both of these muscle groups is to advance into the equation. For neck, you can basically wrap a towel around the band, bite it, and do side neck curls, or put a band around your head and do neck curls like that. Also the same with neck extensions. And you can get bands or cables, of course. And for triceps, you can do band pushdowns, band extensions, which are really good. In my opinion, they're better than the cable version. So band extensions, band pushdowns, again, you can do it one hand at a time. You can grab the lighter band and warm up with that for your extensions, which is going to basically allow you to drop blood into the area, get that area stronger, which is going to allow you to do the ring movements for the triceps, but also you have the variation of the bands to prevent overuse and to prevent further tendon taxing. So yeah, that's the point I wanted to make. And then we move on to another thing he talked about, which is variation. He said that you have more variation, therefore it's better because it's going to allow you to hit different angles, different functions, blah, blah, blah. And I agree, more variation is better. But I believe that just because you have more variation, that doesn't mean that rings don't have enough variation in the first place. So I believe that if you're creative enough, you can find different variations of movement patterns, even isolations. So I'm going to give you a couple of ideas. For example, employing pauses either at the top, at the bottom, at any point in the mid length. Like for example, you're a pull up and you pause right here, or when you're in the dead hang position. Changing the rep range. For example, you're doing inverted rows with your feet elevated. You change the leverages with your feet on the floor to change, first of all, the angles, and second of all, the rep ranges you're going to use. You can do unilateral movements instead of bilateral. You could change the grip width. For example, for pull-ups, you can do wide grip, close grip, medium grip, pronated, supinated, neutral. You can do the rotations. You can do from pronated to supinated to neutral, neutral to 45 degrees supinated, and stuff like that. You can play around a lot. Then you have, again, the leverages and the feet elevation. So there you have a variety of ways you can change a movement for you to prevent overuse. You can also change the order of the exercises. So you do your vertical pressing first, then your horizontal, then next session you switch it up. You can also do floor movements, ring movements. You have a lot of options in my opinion. And isolation doesn't need that much variation. We are not in Brian Humiston's channel. We don't need 20 bicep curls variation. We just need 2 to 3, maybe 4 if you're sensitive in a certain area, and that's it. For the shoulders, I think that 2 is the most you're going to need, and for example, triceps or biceps, which can be pretty taxing for some people, 3 to 4 is more than enough. And if you have bands for triceps, you're covered, and if you with just rings, you have it covered for biceps. So yeah, that was the whole video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope he basically agrees with what I said, or if he has any different thoughts, I would like I would like if he would leave them in the comments below. And the same goes to you, dear viewer. If you're watching, leave me your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks for watching.